Innocent black woman attacked by prison gang members, unaware she is a retired boxer. Kate stood frozen, her hands trembling slightly, the rough fabric of the orange jumpsuit rubbing against her skin. This was not her world. She belonged in a quiet library, surrounded by the laughter of children as she helped them read, flipping pages. Not here. Not in Blackridge Women's Prison. Before we dive in, tell us where you're watching from. Drop your city in the comments. We love seeing where our amazing audience is tuning in from. Get ready for the next chapter in Kate Storm's journey. The fight isn't over. It's just getting started. Subscribe now so you don't miss a second of the action. Hit that notification bell to be the first to know when the next story drops. Kate was innocent, but the law didn't care. The trial had been fast, her voice unheard. Now she was trapped in a place where rules didn't exist, where the strong fed on the weak. A guard yanked her forward. Move. She swallowed, forcing her feet to step forward. She felt the eyes before she saw them. Inmates lined the hallway, pressed against the bars of their cells, watching her like a fresh piece of meat. Whispers curled through the air like smoke. She's new. She won't last a week. Too soft. Kate clenched her fists, fighting the urge to run. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her fear. The guard led her to a long hallway with a single metal door. He shoved it open, revealing a large room with bunk beds stacked against the walls. A dozen women turned their heads as she stepped in. Find a bed, the guard muttered before slamming the door shut. Silence. The inmates stared, some with curiosity, others with amusement, and some with hunger. Kate gripped her small bag tightly and walked to an empty bed in the corner. She sat down, heart pounding. A woman with dark skin and short dreadlocks leaned against the bunk across from her, smirking. You look scared, new girl. Kate said nothing. Another woman, taller and built like a mountain, cracked her knuckles. She ain't gonna last long. Laughter rippled through the room. Kate looked down at her hands. She had to survive. She had to find a way to prove her innocence. The cafeteria was a war zone. The scent of stale bread and overcooked meat filled the air as Kate moved cautiously through the crowd. She kept her head low, gripping her tray of food tightly. Around her, women laughed, argued, and threw insults across the room like knives. She found an empty seat at the far end of the room and sat down. She barely had time to pick up her spoon before a shadow loomed over her. A tall, scar-faced woman stood in front of her table, arms crossed. Her sharp eyes, dark as coal, locked onto Kate like a predator watching prey. The room fell silent. Rain. Kate had heard whispers about her already. The Queen of Blackridge. The one nobody dared to challenge. Rain didn't speak. She simply stared. Then, without warning, she reached out and slapped Kate's tray off the table. The metal tray clattered to the floor, food splattering everywhere. Laughter erupted around them. Kate's heart pounded. Rain leaned down, so close that Kate could feel her breath. You're in my seat. Kate's fingers curled into fists. The air was thick with expectation. Everyone watched. Would she fight back? She wanted to. Deep inside, something flickered, a fire she didn't understand. But she swallowed it down. She couldn't afford to start a war on her first day. Slowly, she pushed her chair back and stood. Rain smirked. Good girl. Kate walked away. Behind her, the laughter continued, echoing through the cold prison walls. This was just the beginning. The showers were the worst place to be alone. Kate knew that the moment she stepped inside. The dim lights flickered above, casting long shadows against the cracked tiles. She had just turned on the water when she heard it. Footsteps. Slow, heavy, purposeful. Kate's body tensed. She turned her head slightly, just enough to see them. Rain, and 3 others. They blocked the exit, their eyes dark with amusement. You thought you could walk away from me. Rain's voice was low, almost playful. But the threat underneath was clear. Kate didn't answer. She stayed still, her heart pounding in her ears. Rain smirked. Silent, huh? That's fine. We'll make you talk. The first hit came fast. A sharp slap across Kate's cheek. Her head snapped to the side. But something strange happened. She barely felt it. The sting faded almost instantly. It was like someone had swatted a fly against her skin. Another slap. Nothing. One of Rain's crew, a woman with a jagged scar across her chin, grabbed Kate's shoulder and shoved her back against the cold tile wall. "Ain't so tough now, are you?" she sneered. Rain cracked her knuckles. "Hold her still." The fist came straight for Kate's face, and suddenly, time slowed. Her mind wasn't in the prison anymore. She was a little girl again, standing in a sunlit backyard. Her grandfather towered over her, his strong hands wrapped around a metal bar. His voice was deep, calm, steady. "Again, Kate. Lift it. Power is in the mind first, then the body." She remembered the weight of the bar in her hands, the way her muscles burned, the way he trained her in secret, whispering, "One day, you'll need this." She had buried those memories, forgotten them. Until now. The fist came closer. Kate's body moved on its own. She ducked. Rain's punch slammed into the tile behind her, cracking it. Rain's eyes flashed with anger, this time grabbing Kate's arm. A mistake. The moment Rain's fingers clamped down, Kate reacted. Instinct took over. With almost no effort, she lifted Rain off the ground. The other inmates barely had time to react before Kate twisted her body and slammed Rain against the wall like she weighed nothing. The sound echoed through the showers. Rain crumpled to the ground, dazed. Silence. The three women who had come with her stumbled back, their faces frozen in shock. Kate looked down at her own hands, breathing hard. What had just happened? The door burst open. Two guards ran in, their batons raised. Their eyes darted between Kate and Rain's motionless body. One of the guards, Officer Brooks, took a cautious step forward. What the hell? The other prisoners in the shower room backed against the walls. Nobody spoke. One of them whispered, "Who is she?" Kate didn't have an answer. All she knew was that something had changed. And now, everyone in Blackridge knew it too. Kate sat in her cold cell, staring at the floor. The prison was different now. Before, she was invisible. Just another woman in an orange jumpsuit, trying to survive. But after what happened in the showers, everything changed. Now, when she walked through the halls, whispers followed her. Some inmates stepped aside, fear in their eyes. Others watched her closely, as if waiting for a chance to test her strength. And then there was Rain. She had been carried out of the showers, unconscious, by the guards. When she woke up, everyone expected her to explode with rage, to attack Kate the moment she saw her. But she didn't. Instead, Rain stayed silent. She didn't even look at Kate. And somehow, that was even worse. The warden's office was dimly lit, the only sound the slow ticking of a clock. Madame Grady sat behind her desk, fingers steepled, watching the video footage from the showers. She rewound the tape again. And again. A single woman lifting Rain like she was weightless. Grady's lips curled into a scowl. She had run Blackridge for 20 years, and she didn't allow chaos in her prison. This Kate Storm was a problem. A big problem. She pressed the intercom button on her desk. Bring her to solitary. Kate didn't struggle when the guards came. They grabbed her arms, yanked her down the hall, and threw her into the hole. The door slammed shut. Total darkness. No windows. No sound. Just cold cement and the weight of silence pressing down on her. She sat on the floor, breathing slowly. This was their way of breaking people. They wanted her to feel small, to feel powerless. But Kate was not small, and she was not powerless. She closed her eyes, one day at a time. Then, from the darkness, a voice whispered, "You have a gift, child." Kate's eyes snapped open. She wasn't alone. The voice was coming from the vent. She crawled toward it, pressing her ear against the cold metal. "Who's there?" A soft chuckle. "Name's Mama Ruth. Been here longer than the walls." Kate frowned. "How do you know about me?" "Everybody knows about you now," Mama Ruth said. "A woman who can throw rain across a room. That's a story that don't stay quiet." Kate exhaled. "I don't know how I did it." "Strength like yours don't just happen," Mama Ruth murmured. "It's in you. Been in you a long time. But gifts like that, they're dangerous in a place like this." Kate leaned closer. "Why?" "Because power like yours," Mama Ruth said, "it don't just make you a target. It makes you a threat." While Kate sat in the dark, Blackridge boiled over. Rain was awake now, and she was angry. She didn't yell, didn't scream. She planned. Her gang gathered in the yard, whispering in tight circles. Other inmates drifted closer, wanting to know what would happen next. Some of them were scared of Kate. Others, they were curious. Rain slammed her fist against the wall, her face still bruised from the shower fight. "Nobody makes a fool out of me." Her second in command, Dasha, crossed her arms. "She's not normal, Rain. You felt it." Rain's jaw tightened. "I don't care what she is. She bleeds like the rest of us." But not everyone agreed. In the lunchroom, a group of inmates sat at the back, whispering. One of them, a woman named Camilla, shook her head. "Rain's gonna get herself killed." Another woman, Tasha, smirked. "Or maybe Kate's the one we should be following." A divide had started. Some women wanted to bring Kate down. Others wanted to stand beside her. By the time night fell, the whole prison was on edge. Something was coming, and in the darkness of solitary, Kate could feel it. The night was heavy with silence, the kind that came before a storm. Kate stood in the middle of the prison courtyard, the cold wind whipping against her skin. The sky above was dark, thick with clouds, but the real storm was on the ground. She wasn't alone. They had trapped her. Rain stood across from her, surrounded by her gang. 10 women, armed, ready. The prison walls loomed high around them, the floodlights casting sharp shadows. The guards didn't step in. They just watched. The warden was watching too. From the balcony above, Madame Grady stood with her arms crossed, eyes locked on Kate. There was no panic in her face, just calculation. Kate's heart pounded. This was a setup. Rain took a step forward, a blade glinting in her hand. "This ends tonight," she said, voice low, deadly. The other inmates closed in. Kate breathed in. They thought she was trapped. They thought she would beg. They thought she would break. They were wrong. Rain lunged first, the knife slicing through the air. Kate moved faster. She dodged, twisting her body, and slammed her elbow into Rain's ribs. A sickening crack. Rain stumbled back, eyes wide with shock. But the others didn't wait. A metal pipe swung toward Kate's head. She caught it with one hand. Gasps echoed around the courtyard. The woman holding the pipe froze. Kate's fingers tightened. The metal groaned, twisting under her grip until, snap, she bent it like it was nothing. Then she moved. She grabbed the woman by the shoulders and threw her over her own back. She landed hard, groaning in pain. Another attacker rushed in. Kate grabbed her wrist, twisted, and the woman collapsed, screaming. A fist came toward her face. She ducked. A kick. She caught it and flung the attacker aside. One by one, they fell. But Kate did not fall. Blood pounded in her ears. Her body moved like it remembered something ancient, something buried deep inside her. She had always been strong. She had always been different, but she had never been allowed to see it. Until now. Another woman ran at her, screaming. Kate grabbed her by the front of her shirt, lifted her into the air, and threw her into 2 others. A pile of bodies, a circle of groaning, beaten inmates. And then, silence. The last woman standing was Rain. She clutched her ribs, breathing heavily, eyes full of something she had never felt before. Fear. For the first time, Rain knew what it was like to be powerless. Kate stepped closer, but before she could speak, a loud buzzing filled the air. The prison gates suddenly unlocked and swung open. Kate turned her head sharply, confused. The warden never opened the gates. She looked up at the balcony. Madame Grady was smiling. It wasn't a kind smile. It was a snake's smile. The intercom crackled. The warden's voice came through, cold and smooth. "Walk away, Kate Storm." Kate's heart stopped. She knew. This wasn't just about the fight. This wasn't just about her strength. This was bigger. Kate had never been supposed to be here. Her arrest, her trial, all of it had been fake. She had been sent here to disappear. And now, the warden was letting her go. Not out of mercy, out of fear. Because if Kate stayed, she would destroy everything they built. The system wasn't afraid of criminals. It was afraid of someone they couldn't break. Someone like her. Kate's hands clenched into fists. Every part of her body screamed to stay, to tear this place down, to make them pay. She looked at the warden, the woman who had stolen her life, who had stolen the lives of so many others. She could crush her. But then, from the crowd, someone whispered, "Go." Another voice. "You're bigger than this." Kate looked around. The other prisoners, some still lying on the ground, some still standing, were watching her. Some of them had spent years in this place. Some of them would never leave. They needed something more than revenge. They needed hope. They needed to see that this place didn't define them. Kate exhaled. She turned toward the open gates and walked. Just as she reached the exit, she stopped. Slowly, she turned back. The guards, the prisoners, even the warden, all eyes were on her. Kate looked at the heavy, rusted prison gates that had trapped her here. Then she reached down and lifted them off the ground. Gasps echoed through the yard as she raised the massive iron bars above her head. And then, with all her strength, she threw them down. The metal shattered against the concrete. The sound was deafening. No cage could hold her. The prison exploded into chaos. Women cheered. Guards ran forward. The warden's face turned pale. Kate took one last look at Blackridge and walked into the night. Just as she stepped past the gates, the loudspeakers crackled again. A man's voice echoed through the prison. "Kate Storm, we have found new evidence." A pause. "You are free to go." The air froze. Kate turned back to the warden. Madame Grady's face was like stone. She had lost. Kate didn't smile, because she knew. This fight was just beginning. Let us know where you're watching from in the comments. What was your favorite moment from the story? Who do you think Kate should face next? Hit the like button if you want more action. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter.